I love baseball. My dad is my coach. We practice every day. This season, I struck out 63 of 66 outs. It's hard work, so I train.
1, 2,
I have the freedom to train.
4.
These guys liked baseball too, but their baseball field was an internment camp. Just imagine if your freedom was taken. Imagine if you had 48 hours to leave everything behind. This is my people's story in America. This is what happened to my family in California. My topic is when the Japanese Americans in 1942 were sent to the internment camps during World War II. I choose this topic because it represents my family. It also matters because the Japanese Americans were treated like criminals. The people we are speaking of are the Ise and the Nisei. The Ise are the Japanese that came from Japan. The Nisei are the Japanese who were born in America. 112,000 people of Japanese descent were put in the internment camps. 28,835 were just in California alone. My great-grandparents were part of that. On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed the Executive Order 9066. This allowed the military to arrest all people of Japanese descent. The evacuation began on March 22, 1942. In California, they were put in horse stalls to live for 6 months. My family was part of this group. That place was the Santa Anita racetrack. My family was placed in Manzanar, California. Later, my great-grandparents were moved to Poston, Arizona. There were 10 camps in total. It was World War II, and people were not happy with Japan. On December 7, 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and killed a lot of people. In America, racism got really bad for the Japanese. They were forced to leave their homes. My great-grandfather was 42 years old when he entered the camps. His name was Munamasa. Later, they called him Joe. My great-grandmother was 22 years old. Her name was Hanako, but her American name was May. They took 2 children to the camp, the oldest Kamiko and the second Joanne. After being moved to Poston, Arizona, my great-grandparents had a daughter and they named her Sally. 1 year later, my grandfather was born. His name is Melvin. He was born December 28, 1944. The camps ended on December 18, 1944. The court said it wasn't fair to put Japanese in prison because they were Japanese. A lot of Japanese/Americans after the camps returned home to California. My family went to work in the fields to pick strawberries. In California, the Japanese suffered from racism. They were shot at and their homes burned. Like the civil rights movement, the Japanese Americans began a movement called Red Wrist Movement. They wanted an official apology and restitution. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan gave a formal apology and $20,000 for each of the Japanese who were in the camps. The president also said this will never happen again. Parents, teachers, class, I want to introduce you to a product of the camps, my grandfather, Melvin Mixudu Amano. I'm sitting right next to my grandpa, and he was born in the internment camps. My first question is, what does he remember about the internment camps? Do you know?
Well, what I know about it is that there were like shacks that we lived in, and there were cracks all in the floor where when the wind blew, everything, all the dust and everything used to come to the floor.
What did your mother and father say about the camps?
Well, they said, well, they had to go, they understood that, and but they were pretty hurt behind it, having to raise their family in there, and plus, there was two of us that were born there, and two was taken in there, so they were pretty sad.
My last question is, how did it feel like growing out in the camps?
Well, I remember growing up where people used to look at me pretty funny because I was Japanese, and a lot of prejudice and everything was going on. So it was pretty rough for me.
I love you, Grandpa.
I love you too.